Russell Westbrook gets the rebound and flings this beautiful full-court pass to Bradley Beal. Those were part of yet another triple-double with 21 rebounds and 24 assists against Indiana. What's absolutely wild is that he could have 0 points, 0 rebounds, and assists for the rest of the season and still average a triple-double, which effectively is his 4th season in his career accomplishing this. This type of consistency is staggering, and while the large majority of players go their entire career without getting a single triple-double, this should pretty much be enough for people to consider Westbrook as a phenom and also like and respect him, right? Instead, nobody talks about it at all, and he gets bashed by the media. Why? Let me explain. What up everybody, my name is Stefan and this is Heat Check. Let's get into it. During and after his MVP season, his teams really weren't objectively good enough to be considered title favorites. Yeah, he played with Paul George and James Harden, but looking at the big picture, there were better teams. And when he wasn't able to get them deep in the playoffs, the narrative sort of wrote itself about Westbrook padding his stats. Heck, you all know that I also made a video about that, which went viral, and because of it, people are convinced that I hate Russell, which couldn't be further from the truth. He's one of my favorite players and one that I would pay good money to see him play live. And putting things in perspective, 4 years after that video, these are just few situations, and although they look bad on video, at the same time, there's no way a player can sustain this level of greatness night after night, season after season, thinking solely about himself and padding his numbers. In 10 or 15 years, long after he retires, Westbrook will be considered a freak of nature and his accomplishments will be talked about and put on a pedestal as a record for the new players to try to get to, just like that's the case with Oscar and Wilt. But today, it's mostly silence and criticism focusing on what he cannot do. And that's the sad truth and the harsh reality that Russell Westbrook is facing. Which is why, as the saying goes, I like to give him his roses while he's alive and can still smell them. Let me focus on everything that the Brody can do and what makes him special, a phenom, and one of the all-time greats. Right off the bat, check out what Bradley Beal had to say about him.
It's seeing how he brings it every single day. As a leader, as a player, as a father, as a man. He is the best teammate probably I've ever had, and just in terms of his leadership, probably one of the best leaders I've been around. Because he holds himself accountable. He holds himself to a certain standard. And, you know, he kind of has this approach that he keeps that with his teammates, but he goes out there and he gives it his all every single time that he touches the floor. And, you know, to see him average triple doubles, average 30-point triple doubles over the last few years, it's not by accident, you know, and that's hard work, that's dedication, that's going out there and giving it your all every single night.
Also, on the topic of being a teammate, you see all these situations where Russ is fiery and yelling and all that, but the large majority of his teammates rave about how great of a guy he is and how he cares about him and keeps the team together, which Steven Adams summed it up well, explaining the interactions with Westbrook.
It's just like, he just reminded me of one of my older brother. They're intense and stuff and they say a lot of things and whatnot, but you kind of got to like sift through all that and kind of see what they're actually saying, if that makes sense. And yeah, it doesn't really matter like how intense they say it, as long as the message is getting across, right? And so it's not for everyone either, right? Not everyone can respond to that sort of intensity or whatnot. But this is just on the court. Off the court, bro, like, solid dude, awesome, really, really cool. And then on the court, whatever you want to call it, whatever one you want to name it, mate. Intense, passionate, angry, psycho, whatever you got.
Even his opponents recognize the greatness. LeBron James dedicated an Instagram post to defend Russ in a way and opened the eyes to all the haters out there. And Anthony Davis crashed his post-game press conference to congratulate him on a phenomenal performance of 18 points, 18 rebounds, and 14 assists in a win over the Lakers. Players simply respect that type of competitiveness and the fire that he has. The most obvious example of that to me will always be this moment from 2015. He falls down and gets hit inadvertently. As the camera zooms in, we see that there's literally a dent in his face. He would undergo facial surgery only to come back only 4 days later and drop yet another triple-double with 49 points, 16 rebounds, and 10 assists in a heroic effort. Of course, he could have rested, he could have taken some games off, but the thing with Russell is, unless he's injured and it's impossible for him to play, he will go out and give everything he has on both sides on the court. every single possession. Oh, by the way, just last night in the post-game interview, he did reveal himself that he's been playing through a torn quad at the start of the season, which may finally explain the slow start for the Washington Wizards. At least some of it. Take a look.
Russ, you mentioned that you want to come back a better player every year. How much were you able to do after last season with the injury and everything?
Not a lot. I think, at the end of the last season, obviously there were a lot of conversations about play or not, but everyone knows my quad was torn. And then unfortunately, at the start of this season, I tore my other one. But I was playing through it and still trying to compete for my guys and had an opportunity to kind of rest and be ready to go. And with proper treatment and staff here being able to kind of take care of that allows me to kind of be at a level and the pace where I know that I can play at consistent on night in, night out basis. And, I'm at a good position health-wise and especially mentally-wise.
Speaking of the Wizards, however, things are starting to get really interesting. They've won 13 out of the last 16 games and are now firmly in the play-in tournament race. But the thing is that after facing the Bucks on Wednesday, all the remaining games are against the bottom teams of the Eastern Conference, all winnable games. So, best case scenario that seems realistic if things go their way is that Washington can move up to the 8th seed, which would give them 2 chances to win 1 game and go to the playoffs, as opposed to having to win 2 out of 2, being the 9 or 10 seed. You know exactly what I'm saying if you watched my other video where I explained exactly how the play-in tournament works. So I gotta be honest and say that although I've really enjoyed watching the Hornets as one of the most refreshing teams this season, they're young and their time will come. Right now, I'm pulling for the Brody and Bradley Beal to get in and provide a little more fire and attitude in that 1/8 playoff matchup. At the end, I want you to hear this from Russell Westbrook.
I honestly believe there is no player like myself, and if people want to take it for granted, sorry for them. But I'm pretty sure if everybody could do it, they'll do it. Honestly, Cass, I don't care what nobody thinks about it. I don't care if somebody thinks it is whatever they want to call it, stat padding or not useful. I think it's very interesting that it's not useful now that I'm doing it. It wasn't useful when Magic and Oscar and those guys were doing it. But now that I do it and it looks easy, this ain't easy though. I'll tell you that. I take a lot of pride in my preparation. I take a lot of pride in taking care of my body. I take a lot of pride in competing every night. I don't take nights off. If it's a triple-double, then why not? That's my motto. Why not? Continue to keep going.
As he's getting close to surpassing Oscar Robertson on the all-time triple-double list, facing criticism on a daily basis, one thing is certain about Russ. He really is the player that we see. Fiery, fierce, and competitive. He really is unstoppable, controlling the game from all aspects. And even though, just like every other player ever, on a rare occasion he may hunt for an extra point or a rebound, he's been dominating the game throughout his entire career, even without winning the ring. But most importantly, as he said it himself, Russell Westbrook doesn't really care whether you agree with that and whether you like him or hate him. I hope that we can appreciate players for what they do rather than criticize them for what they lack, just like in this case with one of my favorite players, Russell Westbrook. That's it for now. Subscribe and talk to you in the next one. Peace out. Gotta warm up. Gotta warm up, baby. When you warm up, that's all good. Peace out.